Hello, this is Sudhakar Moparthi again. Welcome to Crowdsourced AI project. The first project that I'm integrating is ChatGPT. Using ChatGPT, we will structure the content as JSON objects and import those JSON objects into the crowdsourced AI project so that the machine understands the structured relationships that are embedded in those JSONs. So that's the basis and the background. So we have taken AWS services as an example to understand and teach the machine. So this is a continuation of that using AWS IAM service. So let's go and see the next section. And if you are interested in this project, please get in touch with me, and I would be happy to discuss and share some of the ideas and techniques and explore how we can build such an AI. Okay. So we have seen IAM works, users, permissions. And now today we're going to see what is ABAC. Okay, so again, let's continue our process. So I copy the text. I go to ChatGPT. I am already logged in. And I'm going to create a JSON to capture the essence of the text. Okay, let me correct the spelling, which I made on essence of text. All right, so I just copy paste that text and see what ChatGPT does. Concept, attribute-based access control, ABAC. So it has given the concept, what is okay. All this is saying is attribute-based access control is an authorization strategy that defines permissions based on attributes called tags that can be attached to IAM resources and AWS resources. Allows the single ABAC policy or a small set of policies for IAM principles for convenient policy management in rapidly growing environments. Okay, that summarizes everything. So what is the problem that they are trying to solve? In the traditional role-based access control, RBAC, you define a policy and give the permissions to that policy, which resources are accessible using that policy. When a user assumes that role, they will get all those resource access. Suppose you add one more resource, a new machine, and now you have to come and update the policy permissions with that new resource in the RBAC case. So every time you add a new resource to a project, you have to keep updating these policies. So that may become cumbersome. That's the problem. So what's the solution? Attribute-based access control. Attribute-based control uses attributes. So I can have a key value pairs. They're called tags. Each tag has a key and a value. It's a pair. So you attach that key value pair as a tag to each resource that you are provisioning in AWS. So something like access project crowd sourced AI with AWS and ChatGPT. Let's say that's a project, which is what I'm working on right now. So any resource that we provision in AWS with this tag, we can define a role and give this ABAC based access control role and tag it with this. And when I log in, because I'm assuming this role, and we create a role, ABAC role, and then all the resources that are tagged with this key value automatically will get it. But I will have the permission to do those actions that are permitted in that policy. Okay, so that's all ABAC and RBAC means. So I already talked based on this paragraph. So here again, they're comparing ABAC and traditional RBAC model. So just for the sake of argument, I'm going to just copy this whole thing. There's a lot of examples, but once you understand the conceptual level, then you don't need too many examples. All right, create a JSON. All right. Comparison, ABAC versus RBAC, ABAC, RBAC, description. So whatever that I just described, it's just giving that RBAC description. Disadvantage, updating policies required when new resources are added. That is correct. Example, scenario. Okay, so RBAC disadvantage is that, and then to remove that, ABAC. So I think I would go with ABAC access control method. Okay. All right, let's go back. So all this whole paragraph it is saying is that, and it is giving an example. What is a resource, and if I add this resource and that resource and all that kind of thing. Back. Okay. Again, this is also another example, I believe. So we'll just copy paste and then see what it will do. So ChatGPT is reading this text and extracting the essence and creating a schema in the form of a JSON and putting key value pairs and the relationships between different objects. So as you could see here under comparison, and the main JSON first level, it put comparison, and then it put RBAC, and then within that it put a description and disadvantage. Then it provided an example and then gave that scenario. Comparison, ABAC versus RBAC, advantage. Permissions scale with innovation, no longer requiring updates to existing policies. Requires fewer policies, making them easier to manage. Allows teams, you see how nicely it put all those as different objects as an array of strings. So that's what I like about it. Can use employee attributes from corporate directory with ABAC. This example and scenario. We can just ignore that. This is all noise. Once you understand that key value pair tag initially that I told, that's all it is. So it's all noise. Okay. So this is a tutorial. When we do the tutorial, then we will go on to the detailed steps, how to do this, how to set up ABAC and all that. But you need to understand is you provision a resource, a machine, a user, this and that, all kinds of AWS resources. You tag them with appropriate key values. And when we set up our ABAC role, we will be able to define that access. So let's say this is let me clear this. ABAC role. I have different ABAC roles. Then I have a policy to it. Policy. This policy has permissions. Policy. And in this policy, in this permission, I may have multiple permissions. And here I may say access project equal to crowdsourced AI AWS ChatGPT project. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say here. And that is part of the permission. Now there are resources, AWS resources 1, 2, 3, 4, and there are tags. Tag 1, tag 2, tag 3, tag 4. So this tag, let's say, it is resources. This resource is tagged with this, and this resource is tagged with that. So this one is access project equal to crowdsourced AI AWS ChatGPT. Okay. So tomorrow, if I want that project to include this resource, all I have to do is I have to tag it the same thing. And that way, all these 3 resources will be. Let me remove this and change color. That's a different tag. Okay, this resource. All right. So if this policy, if this policy is declared as okay, access project equal to that tag, this particular tag. Okay, maybe I'll just put a connection between this permission to this tag. Okay, so that way now we know through policy, whatever the tag that we are mentioning in the permission, and then all those resources that are connected to that tag will be allowed for that role. ABAC role. This one is ABAC role. So when I take this role, I get 1, 2, 3 resource access because of this policy and this permission. So that's the basic attribute based access control. Means you have an attribute like that key value pair, attribute name and attribute value, key and value. Okay, so all right, that's the C1, C2 diagram, where I'm just specifying how these objects are interconnected. So this is the type of understanding that we are going to import into crowdsourced AI project. And that's how I'm making the machine know what are these connections, how each one of these type of objects are interconnected. All right, let's clear this. Okay, so we just copied all these things, I believe. Okay, let's see. Oops. ABAC provides the following advantages over traditional RBAC. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's all it is. You can control granular level permissions, and you can also use. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's see what I have copy pasted here. Granular permissions using ABAC. Okay. Permissions based on those attributes. Okay. Permissions based on those attributes. Okay. I copy pasted the whole thing, and that's what it gave. It's summarized. All right, that's all I have for today. It's a short video. I'm going to continue the rest of the things, security features, next session, next video. And thanks a lot for your patience. And please get in touch with me. And I'm excited this year to create a automated system using ChatGPT to do some of the tasks that we do manually by using AWS services. All right. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.